Finally, after almost a week of suffering, I finally got the hacker of Honkai Star Rail, Silverwolf. And today, I'm going to be sharing with you the best builds that you can get for her. So, let's get into it. For her skill, to simplify this, she can apply weakness to the enemy that lasts for 2 turns. Along with this, she can apply damage rest reduction to the enemy based on the element that she added to the enemy. Although if she adds a weakness type that the enemy is already weak to, this effect will not be triggered. If you didn't understand that, here's a clip from my previous video that visually explains this matter. To visually explain this, let's say that I had Silverwolf in my team and she uses her skill. She will pick any of the elements that my team has and add it as a weakness to the enemy. Along with this, she will reduce the damage res of the enemy to that weakness type that she added. However, if Silverwolf applies a weakness type that the enemy is already weak to, the damage res reduction will not be applied. In addition to that, she can also apply all type res reduction to the target enemy. And finally, this skill deals quantum damage based on Silverwolf's attack. Moving on to her ultimate, basically this decreases the depth of the target enemy and deals huge quantum damage based on Silverwolf's attack. For her talent, when Silverwolf attacks, she can apply a random bug which can either reduce the enemy's attack, reduce their depth, or reduce their speed. This bug will last for 3 turns. And lastly, for her technique, which I think is one of the best techniques in the game, basically it allows her to deal damage to the enemies, and along with that, when the battle starts, she ignores any weakness type and immediately reduces their toughness. If enemy's toughness meter breaks, they will get the quantum weakness break effect, which is the entanglement. Moving on to the additional traces, we have Generate, which extends the bug's duration for 1 turn, and every time an enemy is inflicted with weakness break, Silverwolf can implant a random bug to that enemy. Next we have Inject, which extends the duration of the weakness applied by Silverwolf for 1 turn. And lastly we have Side Note. If the enemy has 3 or more debuffs on them, if Silverwolf uses her skill on that enemy, she reduces its all type res by 3%. For the prioritization, you need to prioritize her skill first, followed by her ult, then her talent, and lastly her basic attack. For her Eidolons, E1 when using your ult regenerates 7 energy for every debuff that the enemy has. This effect can be triggered up to 5 times for each ult. E2 reduces the enemy's effect res when they enter the battle. E3 expands her skill and talent by 2 levels. E4 is just the same as E1, except instead of regenerating energy, she deals quantum damage for every debuff an enemy has. E5 expands her ult by 2 levels and her basic attack by 1 level. And lastly, E6, for every debuff on an enemy, Silverwolf's damage is increased. Now, is it worth pulling for her Eidolons? Absolutely. All her Eidolons are good and viable, so if you plan on pulling for it, I'm not stopping you. In the 3-star unit, the only option you have is the Void. It is way better than any of the 3-star light cones, but even so, this light cone is not too good on its own since it only increases your effect hit rate for 3 turns. In the 4-star unit, here are the great options for her. Good Night and Sleep Well increases your damage for every debuff the enemy has, stacking up to 3 times. Eyes of the Prey increases your effect hit rate, although you're not gonna get the most out of this light cone since it also increases the damage of DOT, which Silverwolf doesn't rely on. Pearls of Sweat is the second best option for her. This can apply Ensnare on the enemies, and Ensnare will reduce enemies' depth. Although this has a 60% base chance of happening, but since you're mainly focusing on effect hit rate on Silverwolf, this shouldn't be a problem for you. And last on the list is her best in slot 4-star weapon before the tutorial mission starts. You can get this light cone in the Star Hunt event for free, so make sure you collect it. And a 5-star unit, both In the Name of the World and Incessant Rain, are great options for her. For the relics, the best set for her is the 4-piece Brilliant Stars, but if you can't complete a 4-piece yet, then you can stick with the 2-piece set Brilliant Stars and 2-piece set Musketeer, or if you want, you can also go with the 4-piece Musketeer. Now, those two sets are the best sets for her, although there is one set that I'd like to mention, which is the Eagle of Twilight line, because the 4-piece set of this allows the wearer's action to advance forward after using the ult. Now that is a great passive for Civil Wolf, but I still wouldn't choose this set over the ones I mentioned earlier. I just want to mention it because maybe for some of you, you have better stats on this set. In that case, you can use this set temporarily. As for her planar ornaments, the Pangalactic is the best set for her. Moving on to the main stats, head and hands will always be HP and attack respectively. For the body, you need effect hit rate. For the feet, you can go with attack or speed. For the spear, you can go with attack or quantum damage boost. And for the rope, you need energy regeneration, but if you don't have one, you can use attack. For the substats, you're mainly looking for effect hit rate and speed. Other good substats are crit rate or crit damage, or at flat attack or attack percentage. Now for the team comps, should you go mono or not? And it's sad to say that going mono is the best option for her, but there is a good side to it, so hear me out. You still get benefits even if Civil Wolf applies the wrong weakness type. So you don't necessarily need to have all 4 characters have the same element. You only need at least 2 characters of the same element type that you want as a weakness to the enemy. So for example, let's say my damage dealer is Himiko. Obviously I'd want enemies to be weak to fire, right? So I need to put at least one more fire character in the team so that there is a higher chance of getting fire as a weakness. So I'd add Herta to my team, and if I want, I could get the Fire MC on the team as well for a more higher chance. So just make sure that you have at least 2 characters of the same element, and that is the good thing about it, because pretty much every damage dealing characters with different element types have a great pair for them with the same element as them. For example, Yanqing, you can pair him with March or Japard. Clara or Sushang, you can pair them with Natasha. Servo Jing Yuan, you can pair them with Tingyun. Sampo or Danheng, you can pair them with Bronya. Sila or Chinque, well, Civil Wolf is already Quantum, so you're already good. As for Wealth, if you main Wealth, then I guess you can just wait for Yukong to come out. So in conclusion, it's not that hard to pick a team comp for her. Just remember what I said earlier. And that is all for this video. Unfortunately, I haven't played Civil Wolf that much to give you guys some helpful tips, but if I ever do find one, I'll make sure to put it in the comment section down below. And if you have any, feel free to comment it as well. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!